Alright, what's up guys? JR here. It is Thursday, January the 11th, 2018. It's a new year, it's a new day. First and foremost, I just want to thank you guys for your patience. I know I've been gone for quite some time, and I want to see if I can go long here. I just don't want to get in too late. I may leave this alone. I probably will. Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. But yeah, I know I've been gone since around about, I think the end of September was the last time I uploaded a video, and primarily the reasons for that was initially I just wanted to focus on my trading by myself without really having the distraction of making videos and uploading content, because it can be a bit distracting sometimes. And so yeah, I did that for a little bit. I also went live, and the results were not what I was hoping for, I guess you could say. They weren't good, but they weren't bad. It was pretty much break even with a lot of I guess you could say mental challenges. Dealt with a lot of paralysis and not really being able to pull the trigger, and it wasn't what I was expecting. I guess you could say, not really expecting, but it wasn't what I needed and what I wanted to be able to actually make a living. I made money, then I lost money, and pretty much ended up break even to like negative $50 or so. So I called it quits on that. Not necessarily quits, but I went back to sim. Then also some family stuff happened, so that kind of took away about a month from me being able to trade consistently. So with all that stuff, you put it all together, and then we just kind of ended up where we are here today. But I didn't quit. I'm still alive and well. One major change that I did make is, I don't know if you noticed or not, but this is not the ES, this is the NQ, the E-mini Nasdaq 100. And the main reason why I switched to this market is because overall I just kind of analyzed the ES for the past 2 years, I guess you could say, the amount of time I've been trading, the amount of opportunity that it gives, the amount of trades that I'm able to take a day, my overall profitability in the market, my risk to reward structure, and the method and way that I personally have to trade and have been trading it. And I just realized it wasn't giving me what I wanted. I feel like most of the time it would be a mediocre to slightly average day with less than 6 good trades a day, and that's just not ideal when you're scalping for $50 a point, and with a 2-to-1 stop loss. And for me, I would try to sit and wait on the best trades, and sometimes that doesn't happen until the afternoon, and then you sit there all day. You take 1 trade, you win, maybe 2 trades if it's a decent day. Then you come back the next day and you take a 7-tick stop minus 87.50, or it just wasn't exactly what I was looking for. In the ES, you're lucky if you get in there with a $62 stop. That you're doing really well. You're doing pretty good if you get in there with a $75 stop, and you have to remember that I was scalping for 1 point, which is $50, and when your risk is constantly greater than your reward, you really, the margin for error overall is slim to none. So the way I see it is, I was profitable in the ES, not significantly profitable, but profitable nonetheless. With at least a 2-to-1 stop loss ratio. I mean, I wasn't always taking full 2-point stops minus $100, but for the most part, on average, they were anywhere from $62 to $87, and I was still profitable in that. So I decided to look at another market, which is the Nasdaq 100, which is what I'm trading right now. It's $5 a tick, $20 a point, and I basically trade it how I want to trade it. So I adjusted my risk parameters. I take 5 points a trade, so I scalp for $100, and I have a maximum stop loss of $100, so it's 1-to-1. And so far it's been working out pretty nicely for me. I'm definitely liking it. And yeah, my bad, I'm partially thinking about what's going on right here because I don't want to miss anything. I want to get some trades in this video so that you guys can kind of see how I trade this market. But like I said, I trade with a 5-point target, 5-point stop at $20 a point, so that's $100. And this is a 1250 tick chart. Initially I started off on a 1000 tick chart, but I realized that that time frame was a bit too small. I was experiencing a lot of failures and false entries, so I think that this is the better time frame. I'm gonna go long here depending on how this bar closes. I'm hoping it turns up and closes bullish, because that'll be the failed second entry short. I think that we have some shorts trapped in here, and I think we should pop if we can break above this level right there and maybe go back up and retest the highs. This may not trigger though. We could just chop around right here and then the bottom could fall out of it, but what I'm hoping for right now is a long to be able to take that to the upside. And the way that I enter usually is I'll enter with a limit order. I'll wait for the trade to break above my signal bar. So if this trade were to trigger, this would be my signal bar. I'll wait for the trade to break above it, and then I'll go ahead and drop a limit order pretty much on the close or the extreme of the bar, maybe a tick or two back in. But I try not to get too conservative, because this market does move pretty well and pretty quickly, so you will get left behind if you try to get a little bit too conservative in it. But it's looking like this may not set up right here, so I'm just gonna go to pause, and I'll come back when I find a trade. And I'm pretty tired, but hopefully I'll be able to think clearly enough to really explain some of the aspects about this market, what I think about it so far, and why I like it. So yeah, I'll be back. And I just missed a short, but it's cool. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and go long right here. So basically what I do is I just drop, I think I may have missed that. What I do is I wait for it to break above, then I drop in my limit order right at the extreme. One more thing that I will note is that what I've noticed is that pretty much the ES serves as a benchmark for this market. So they don't always move together in sync in tandem, but most of the time you're going to find that to be the case. So if you'll notice over here on the ES, let me drag this over because I have this on my second monitor. Basically, we just popped on the ES. This is a long setup, and that's... One second, I'm getting a phone call. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, from what I've noticed, the ES kind of tends to be the benchmark for the NQ. So what I've noticed is that they usually tend to move together. So if you have a setup on the ES, most likely you're going to have a setup on the NQ. This won't always be the case, but it is helpful when trying to determine when and where to enter. Now I'm hoping that the move on the ES isn't officially over and that the move on the NQ doesn't stall, because we're in long right here. I'm still thinking we're going to go higher, maybe retest these highs. We might not make it all the way up top there, but I'm thinking that we should most likely still go higher. This is also a failed second entry short, so we'll see what happens. We're in the trade right now. We're going to scalp for 5 points, which is $100, and our stop is down here at $100 as well. I think I'm just going to leave this up right now for the moment, so that way you guys can see what I mean about how the markets tend to move together. So usually if there's a pullback on the ES, there'll be a pullback on the NQ, etc. So yeah, just going to go to pause really quickly, and I will be back once we get some movement on this trade. Alright, we're moving on up now. This is just a possible trend line that I drew. I don't think that this is in play. It holds pretty nicely on the bottom, but I think we're going to get a pretty good push up. I probably could extend this target, but I'm not going to do that just because I simply want to scalp. See, so we're out of that trade, and as you can see, we're going up on the ES and we're going up on the NQ. We may not retest this high, but I think we probably will take out this high at least. Let me go ahead and mark this trade, and then I need to pause this video because I need to return that phone call. Okay, so this is our first trade. We're going to look for one more today. And this is pretty much what I do, guys. I just scalp for 5 points, which is $100, with a maximum stop loss of $100 as well. And the profit potential in this market is, it's nice. It's really nice from what I can see, because as you can see, this market, it's still going. It's still going higher. Let me pull the ES back so you can see it. It's still going higher, and these moves are bigger than the moves on the ES. And as you can see, I risked $100, and this thing is easily going pretty damn far. So from what I can tell from this market, it should allow for better control of risk with better opportunity for returns, because the moves are simply bigger. And I'm a fan of that. I don't remember if I told you pretty much the main straw that broke the camel's back, but I'd sat and I waited until maybe, I think it was like 1:30 in the afternoon. Sat there all day, didn't get a single trade. Finally saw what appeared to be a nice looking setup to me. It was a failed second entry short in an uptrend. Took it, it went 4 ticks up, touched my target, flipped, turned around, stopped me out for -7 ticks. That really pissed me off. You know how you just have like a moment of clarity, like enough is enough? That instance was my moment of clarity, enough is enough. And so I talked to one of my buddies about it, and I just said, yo, do you think we should maybe consider trading other markets? And he told me straight up, yeah, definitely, we should do it. So from that point on, I just went, looked at the NQ. I also looked at the Russell 2000, and I decided to go with the NQ because I like this market a lot. The price action works very well. The moves are big. The ticks are smaller, so that way you can control your risk a bit better. It follows the ES, so I can look at the ES and determine when the ES is going to move and look for an opportunity to get in on the Russell, not on the Russell, on the NQ. Because if you look at this looks like the bias is down at the moment. This doesn't really look like you should be thinking about going long. But when I look at the ES is going higher. And usually these patterns will be pretty similar on these two markets. So I can pretty much gauge where the NQ is going based off the ES. This isn't always going to be the case, but most of the time it's the case. I haven't been trading this market for that long. This is maybe the 3rd week, coming up on the end of the 3rd week of me trading it, and so far I'm a pretty big fan. I'm a pretty big fan of it. It's nice. It is nice. You can definitely, you don't have to be correct as nearly as many times as you do while trading the ES, because like I said, this 1-to-1 at a minimum makes it a lot easier. I could have easily extended my target because I knew we were going to at least take out this high. I could have easily extended my target to maybe a couple ticks before this high right here and gotten more out of this move, which I made $100 just scalping it out at give me 1 second, let me add up how much I could have taken off this. Okay, so I got in at 82.75. Right now we're up here at 94.95. So basically we've run about 12 points, which is the equivalent of $240 in a time span of, I don't know, less than 5 minutes on a single contract. So the opportunity to make $240 off this simple trade where you risked $100, that just happened in the blink of an eye. As you can see, these bars are big. There's a lot of strength to the upside, and I like this market, man. The amount of risk that you have to put on the table is considerably less than what you have to put on the table for the ES to make the same, if not less, money. So from what I can see, this is my primary market now. I'm a fan. I'm sticking to it, and yeah, I don't remember if there was anything else I was gonna say right now in the moment, but we'll look for another trade, and I will be back as soon as that happens. And as you can see, basically right up top here on the ES, we're kind of stalling and pulling back, and we're stalling on the NQ and pulling back as well. We popped on the ES, we popped on the NQ, and it's just nice being able to have so much experience on this market and being able to bring it over to the NQ as well, because the tendencies on the NQ are definitely different. It's a different market. As Max says, each market has its own tendencies. You have to learn it and figure it out. And this does operate a little bit differently, but fundamentally the price action is still the same. It's universal. It works in every market. You're still going to find second entries, failed second entries that work like clockwork. So that's helpful, having such a strong price action background and understanding traps, because all this is pretty much is it's a short trap. They trap them right here, they trap them again right here, and then this is when we really hit the stops and begin to pop. So the price action still works. Structures and everything are still the same, so it's helpful already having that knowledge and being able to bring it into a new market, which in my opinion, from what I can see, is a bit easier once you understand how the market moves, due to the fact that these moves are stronger and you risk less. So trading, fundamentally it's the same, but mentally it's a little easier on you because you can make more and risk less. So it takes a little bit of the stress out of this, since most of this is mental in the first place. But like I said, I can look at the ES and determine when we're going to be moving on that, and use it in conjunction with the NQ to determine when and where to enter with this. And you don't always necessarily need for there to be a trade setting up on the ES at the same time that you want to enter on the NQ, because that's not always going to be the case. But it's helpful to be able to tell if the ES is most likely still going to be moving in the direction that you would like to trade in on the NQ. So for instance, if we're far away from the EMA on the ES, I wouldn't recommend trying to continue trading in the direction that that's opposite of where the ES is most likely to go on the NQ, because these things tend to follow each other, and if it can't really move any farther in that direction, it decreases your overall probability of making that a winning trade. So just keep something like that in mind if you do decide to check this market out. I use a 1250 tick chart. You can experiment, figure out which one you like the most. Initially I started off on 1000. It was nice for the beginning. I started trading this, I think, the week before Christmas, so I don't know if the volume was a little less and that's why it was working pretty well for me. But as soon as the new year started, I hopped back on that 1000 tick chart and got friggin' destroyed. So a lot of failures, a lot of false entries, and so I bumped it up to this, and this is a clean chart. I'm definitely a fan of this. But I'm gonna stop talking, I'm gonna pause the video, and I'll be back when I get another trade. Let me clean this up, take some of these trend lines off that I don't need, but I'll be back. Alright, so let me just drag over my ES chart so you guys can see this as well. But as you can see, we had a pullback on the ES, pullback on the NQ, and this is what I meant by we may not make it up to the high, because what I've noticed is that sometimes we don't, especially if you get two legs, we don't always come up to retest these overnight highs and things of that nature. So yeah, we have a pullback right there, and it's just helpful being able to look at both. I don't trade the ES anymore, just simply because usually if there's opportunity on this, then there's opportunity on the NQ for less risk and more profit potential. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna go back to pause, and I will come back when I get another trade. Alright, so that pullback on the ES continued, and as you can see, the pullback on the NQ continued as well. We have a failed second entry long right here coming right off of our trend line. Didn't want to take it. Yeah, just didn't want to take it. Turned out to be a pretty nice trade. The bottom fell out of it pretty heavily. You had like a higher low pullback right here on the ES right off the EMA. I'm not sure if that would have worked. I haven't measured it. I probably won't. But yeah, that's just a brief little update. So I'll be back. Alright, so another brief little update. We're getting a pullback on the NQ, as we are also simultaneously getting a pullback on the ES. So yeah, I'm gonna look for a long and see how this thing sets up. If I get like a nice failed second entry short, or if I get a nice looking long setup, I'm gonna go ahead and take that, because I think we're trying to retest the highs on this trend that we had up on the ES, because we really confirmed the trend line right there, and then we pushed on up. Didn't make it to the upper end, but it fits nicely off the top and off the bottom. So I'm thinking we're gonna go ahead and try to retest that and maybe continue trending higher. So hopefully we get a setup on the NQ. But in the meantime, just gonna go back to pause. Alright, so another brief little update. I adjusted my channel over here on the ES. Let me drag this over. So I adjusted my channel, drew it off these two swings, dragged it up to the highs, and it fits pretty nicely. The only thing is the midline looks a little funny to me, but we'll see how this plays out. Technically, we had a break of that previous channel, which was this right here. We had a break of that and a push on up to a new high. So we'll see what happens with that. Over here on the NQ, we have a second entry short that's right off my trend line, but I'm not going to take this. If it does trigger to the upside, I may miss out on that. But what I think I'm going to do to play it a bit safer, I just lost my ES chart. Where did it go? Here it is. To play it a bit safer, I'm going to wait, see what the ES does, wait until it pulls back to the EMA, and then attempt to get in if I get a setup once we get closer to this EMA, because it's about due for a pullback. This is a pretty strong move up. The trend line held, we get a break right here, and so we will see what happens with that right there. So that's pretty much how I'm going to decide to play this. We could get a trade right here off this trend line. I'm not going to take it though, because like I said, this can pull back, which it looks like it's doing that in the meantime. And since these markets, well, this market, the NQ, tends to follow the ES, I'm going to go ahead and read the price action for the ES and use that to gauge when and where to enter on the NQ. So that's it for now, and I'll be back. Alright, so we have that failed second entry short right here with a very bullish bar. It's quite tempting. The ES didn't quite make it back to the trend line yet. Looks like it's attempting, not the trend line, the EMA yet. It looks like it's attempting to go higher. This actually opened higher than the close of the previous bar and is backing up. I think I'm going to skip this. I don't think I'm going to go ahead and hop in this. We are in the middle of the trading range, and I still think that this could pull back a little bit farther, and that is a first entry on the ES. So I think it's better off to play it safe. Hopefully this will chop around for a little bit, trap some shorts, and then really get a nice pop out of it. So we'll see if that happens, but I'm going to skip this because I know even if we do rocket on higher and keep going, it should present me with a short opportunity, like a nice lower high, if I do miss out on this long. So I think the safest thing to do is to wait, see if I can get a cleaner long setup for this that actually is in tandem with the ES. And like I said, it could rocket on higher, and if it does, I'll just go ahead and take the short. Hopefully it'll present me with that, since this is a range, and most likely we're going to come on up here and test that high. Hopefully test this one, and yeah, so just gonna go back to pause and I'll be back. Alright, so pretty much it's doing exactly what I expected it to do. It went up and pulled back to the EMA, so this failed second entry short. Excuse me. Alright, sorry about that. I had to cough. I actually had a cold last week, so that's another reason why it took me a little longer to come back. Initially, I was planning on making a video last week, but I caught a cold and my voice sounded absolutely terrible. But I'm good this week, so everything is fine. But back to the point. It did pretty much exactly what I was expecting. We had a pullback back to the EMA. So now we'll see if it sets up a nice long setup, and hopefully we can get a nice long setup over here on the NQ right off the EMA as well. And then that should be a pretty good trade. But we could end up flipping, since technically we're not completely sure if this channel is in fact valid. It fits pretty nicely off the highs, and you do have 3 touches. The midline looks a little funny, but technically we do have a break and a push on up to a new high for this channel right here, the initial one that we have drawn. So we'll see what happens. This thing could continue to the downside, or it could turn up right here, give us a nice bullish bar, which would be technically a second entry long with a double top. Which may be a good opportunity to go long, and we can in turn get in long over here on the NQ as well, but we will see. So okay, so the second entry long just triggered right here on the ES. I'm gonna wait to see how this bar closes, and I may go long depending on how this plays out, but this is pretty much what I wanted to happen. Would have been a little bit better if we'd stayed above the EMA, but if it's gonna work out, I think it'll still be okay. This is a bit choppy right here, but if this triggers a long setup, then this thing is definitely going to take off as well, so I'm not too concerned about the chop. And yeah, I'm going to wait for this bar to close, see how it closes, and we will go from there. Alright, so we have a good strong close on this bar right there. I'm just going to wait for a break above it, and then I'm going to go ahead and drag my my limit order right in there to the alright, hopefully I don't miss this. I'm going to put it right there. Hopefully it'll come back and fill me. Let me pull up the ES so you can see that as well. Second entry long on that's looking like it's working pretty nicely. Really hope I don't get left behind on this trade. Alright, so we're in this trade right here. Our stop is, I can actually go ahead and tighten that a little bit. So I will tighten it to 3 ticks beneath the signal bar. And that is, give me 1 second, let me do the math on that. Okay, so that's a 4.5 point stop that I have on here. So that's $90 worth of risk on the trade. Let me go ahead and pull up my ES chart so that we can see how they move together. And yeah. I could tighten this stop up a little bit, because honestly, I think I will tighten it up a little bit. I'll just tighten it by 1 tick. Actually, 1 tick doesn't make that much of a difference. It's $5. I'll just leave it where it is. But yeah, so we'll see what happens on this trade. Second entry long on the ES. That's a pretty good follow-up bar. So I'm thinking we should be good. What I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to adjust the target on this one and put it Maybe right a few ticks above that. So let's leave it at 96 right now. I'm in at 90, so that's 7 points. So that'll be 140 on the trade. So we'll see what happens, but I'm just gonna go back to pause. All right, so right now this isn't looking too good. The second entry long just actually failed on the ES, and we're having a lot of selling on the NQ as well. This bar is looking very bearish, so we could have possibly just gotten trapped right here, which is looking like what happened, but we'll see. If it takes out these lows, and it's probably over. Alright, so it took a little bit, excuse me, but it looks like we're moving now. A few more ticks and we should break above this, and we should get some of that trap momentum to the upside. We have a double bottom right here, which this also creates a second entry since this is a double top, so you can count this as your new high, first entry, second entry. Pretty strong signal bar. It's right off the EMA. So I'm hoping we break above this, trap those shorts in there, hit their stops, and then if we can break above that, then we'll definitely get the momentum that we need to the upside. A couple more ticks above this, and then we should be definitely good. So yeah, we have a 7-point target on this, so we're going to take it off right before the highs, right before the overnight highs, and we're going to use the momentum from this trap, and hopefully not this. This is a trap right here, but we're going to use the momentum from the buy stops due to the people who shorted. We're going to use the momentum up top here to hopefully get that 7-point target, which will give us 140 on the trade with a risk of $90. And I could tighten the stop. Just going to leave it where it is though. But yeah, and then this will be my last trade for the day. So hopefully I'll finish off the day with 12 points, which is the total profit of $240. And we're getting that pop now. So here we go. Hopefully we get some continuation to the upside pretty nicely, and we can get out of this trade pretty quickly. And one more thing to note is this is also a second entry long. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So this is your swing high, first entry right there, pullback, second entry right there. It's right off the EMA. It's pulling back on us here quite a bit, so that's a bit concerning. This is also, that could also possibly be a short setup, or it could tick 1 or 2 ticks beneath it, turn up and create an even bigger trap, which would propel us even farther to the upside. But this, I'm thinking this is either going to be the make or break condition right here with this true second entry long, that if it fails, it will either create a short setup, or it'll tick 1 tick beneath that and turn up, and then we'll also have a failed second entry short, and then really that'll be a nice trap. But I'm just going to leave everything where it is, let the trade play out, and we'll just see what happens. Alright, so we're right back up to these highs right here where the double top is. This is really a critical point. If we turn down and fail off of this, then this trade is most likely going to fail. It's just that if you look at it, this is an uptrend, so the bias is ultimately up, and we've been making new highs all day. So technically, if you want to think about it in terms of probability, we're most likely going to make a new high and take out this high, even though it is a double top. So we'll see what happens, but they're really making us work for this one. So yeah. And then one more thing to add is that if you had entered on a stop above this, you would have been out with your scalp portion if you had scalped for 1 point, because the entry was 58.50, and then the highs where the closes are 59.75. So you would have been out on your scalp portion with that, and I really don't want this to turn down right there, and I don't want to close this trade. But it's just not working out as quickly as I thought it would. I'm gonna hold on to it and see. Unless this turns down with a really bearish bar and blatantly makes it evident that it's not going any higher, I'm gonna hold on to it. Alright, so we have a pretty strong close, really strong bullish close. The ES looks like they're pushing as well. They're trying to do it. We're about 3 points away from my target, so a little more than halfway there. And yeah, hopefully it moves quickly from this point on. We just need to break a few ticks above this area and a few. Okay, so we just took out the closes right there. Now we just need to make it a little bit above there, and then we should be in the clear once we hit those buy stops. So yeah. All right, we just got a pop. I think we're finally hitting those stops. We should be about good from here, I think. And this is going to be it for me. This is my last trade of the day. I'm calling it quits after this. I usually go for 2 trades. Okay, so we're tapping off my exit. I usually go for 2 trades, $100 a trade. All right, so we're out on that. We ran on up to the highs. And yeah, it's a nice trade, man. It just took some time. And this is pretty much how I trade. I look at the ES, I look at the NQ, and that thing is still running. Wow. Yeah, I look at the ES, I look at the NQ, and let me just say, first and foremost, by no means do I have this thing 100% down. I'm still learning it. I've been trading it for less than a month, but I feel like I'm getting a pretty good handle on it. I can tell when it's going to move, around about how far it's going to move, and etc. I like it. I like it a lot. Let me just go over the trades pretty quickly. So first trade that I saw was this failed second entry short right here. Let me take the ES out of the way. Let me drag it back to my other monitor. This failed second entry short right here. Pretty much we had 2 legs up. Short-term trend line working down. We had a break, push to a new low. 1 attempt to go lower right there. 2nd attempt to go lower. And I noticed recently that they like to do these failed second entry short traps, and then they'll pop it on up. So that's another reason why I like this trade. I think it was also in tandem or simultaneous with it was probably a failed second entry short on the ES as well. So I like that trade. I took $100 off that. Ran up a little bit farther than that, but I took $100 off that, which is 5 points. Next trade I see is this failed second entry long. Not too much of a fan of this because in my mind, still becoming familiar with shorts. I've gotten burned trying to take quite a few shorts, especially in this overall bullish market. I've just been kind of trying to stay away from those unless I'm positive that it's going lower. This isn't a nice signal bar for me at all. This is just a normal, pretty bullish bar. We're not right on the EMA anyways, but we are coming off that trend line, which is drawn down. And then as you can see, the bottom falls out of it. Then we bounce. There's a failed second entry short right here with a pretty bullish bar, but gauging that off the ES, this was around about the same time. Let me drag this back over. This occurred at around about the same time that I think we were right up here. Or maybe this was it and we weren't quite back to the EMA yet. So I figured it's probably safer to wait until we pulled back to the EMA. Sure enough, we pulled back to the EMA on the ES. It set up a second entry long as well as a second entry long on the NQ at the same time. So I went ahead and took that. Took a little bit to work out, but it was good for 7 points. I took 7 points off that. And that ends my day with a total of 12 points in the NQ and a total profit of $240, which is nice. I'm satisfied with that. So yeah, that's it, guys. I'm alive and well. I didn't quit. I've still been trading. I just made some minor adjustments, as in I switched markets, and so far I'm a big fan of the NQ. And yeah, I just want to thank you guys for your patience. I know this is the longest break I've ever taken from uploading videos. Initially, I was just trying to focus on myself and my trading, trying to prepare for going live. I did go live, didn't really like how I was trading psychologically, missed out on a lot of trades, forced a couple trades, made money, lost money, ended up break even to slightly negative, said, okay, time to go back to sim. Wasn't making progress on sim on the ES, realized that it's probably not the market for me, switched on over to the NQ. I've been trading it for about 3 weeks now, a little less than a month, and I am a fan. I'm definitely a fan of this market. I trade a 1250 tick chart, so 1250 with parameters of a profit and stop loss of 20 ticks. 20 tick profit target initially and a 20 tick maximum stop loss. Those can be adjusted however you see fit. but that's going to put you at a standard of 1-to-1 with a $100 profit and a maximum of a $100 stop. So you can play with that however you feel like. This is also a 21 bar EMA, so everything is still the same. Still traded the same in terms of trend lines, short-term trend lines, and price movements, etc. So yeah, that's it. Another thing, shout out to Mark and Jamie, Price Action Method. I'm a fan of those videos, guys. I'm a fan. Really nice runner you got yesterday. Good stuff, man. Anyone else that's articulate and knows what they're talking about, please feel free to make videos, guys, because this stuff is entertaining to watch. It's nice watching other people and how they do it, because there's many ways to skin a cat. You can trade these markets many different ways. So it's good to see how other people do things. So anyone else, if you're articulate, you know what you're talking about, please make some videos, man. But that's it. This is JR. I will try to get back in the swing of things of making videos every week. Once again, sorry for the wait. Trading the NQ now and just trying to figure it out as I go along. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys are having a good day, having a good year, having a good whatever. But I will see you probably sometime next week. And if not next week, definitely the week after that. But take care.